Hi guys, in today's video we're going to be painting a Malifuax Dead Rider from start to finish. But first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to my YouTube channel sponsors Goblin Gaming. Please check the description box down below, you'll find a direct link to their web store. And that link greatly helps my YouTube channel anytime you purchase anything from the web store, so please use the link in the description box below. In this tutorial I wanted to try and follow the box art a little and go for a really pale and pasty looking horse, as it is a dead horse that's been stapled together. So I hope I achieve this look, and I also wanted to go for a dusty cloak on the dead rider as well, and I think that's turned out quite well. But anyway guys, this is going to be a long tutorial as always, so go grab yourselves a nice hot drink or maybe an ice cold beer and we'll get started with the tutorial. After building the miniature, I'll start off by priming using Alclad 2's lacquer white primer. It's important to note with lacquer primers guys that they are very harmful if inhaled. I wear a respirator and I also have a spray booth to keep me safe, but it's also important that you use a very good quality airbrush with PTFE solvent proof seals, as cheap airbrushes have rubber seals, and this hot liquid that is the lacquer primer would eat away at cheap rubber seals on lesser quality airbrushes. Here you can see that I'm priming at about 20 psi and I'm working at about 2 to 3 inches away from the model, and I'm just letting the primer build up very slowly, and I'm just getting a nice smooth even coverage with the primer. Another important thing to note guys with Alclad primer is if you are using this primer, make sure that you buy Alclad 2's airbrush cleaner as well, as you'll need this to clean up the paint from your airbrush. After priming, I'm coming in with the Army Painter's Monster Brown. Now this isn't an airbrush ready paint and I need to thin it down, so I thin it down with some Vallejo acrylic airbrush thinner, and I thin it down to the rough consistency of cream. Here you can see that the Army Painter paints spray absolutely beautifully out of the airbrush and can be reduced really well with acrylic thinner. Again, as with the primer coat, I'm coming in at about 20 psi and I'm just making sure that I've got a nice smooth even coverage on all of the dead horse. Now we're going to come in and start highlighting the horse using Mummy Robes by the Army Painter. Again, this is thinned down to the consistency of cream, and I'm looking at all the raised surfaces. Now this is a very light colour, and the reason I'm using this is because I wanted that horse to look really pale and pasty, but I did want to leave some hints of brown behind as well. mentioned a moment ago, using the mummy robes is going to really make that horse look really pale and pasty. So I wanted to bring back a little bit of colour to it, so I've thinned down the Army Painter's Flesh Wash 1:1 with water, and this is going to go in all the cracks and crevices, and it's just going to bring a little tonal change to the overall look of the miniature, which is what we want really. Dead horse has got certain sections of its flesh that's been stapled together, and in between the gaps I wanted to create some blood effect. So I'm using corn red here and black, and I'm mixing it together to create a really dark red tone that's more realistic looking for blood. And here you'll see that I'm just working that blood colour we've just mixed into all of those recessed areas that have been sewn or stitched together, or even stapled together rather, and we're just making some areas of interest with that blood colour we've just mixed. I'm using Games Workshop's layer paint Screaming Skull. I'm going around all of the edges of the panels of the horse, so all of the raised surfaces and the muscle sections are going to get hard edge highlights of that Screaming Skull, and I'm very careful not to disturb the blood work that we've already created. Mephiston Red from Games Workshop is going to be painted into the eye sockets of the horse. Games Workshop's Mornfang Brown is painted onto the mane and tail of the horse, and also the saddle that the dead rider is sitting on. Painter's gunmetal is painted onto all of the areas that are due to be painted metallic. That includes staples and some of the armour on the horse and the weapon that the dead rider's holding. Vallejo Game Air Somber Grey is going to be painted on the robes and the cape that the dead rider's wearing. Games Workshop's Null Oil is thinned down 1:1 with water and washed onto the dead rider. After letting the Null Oil dry, I come back in with the Somber Grey to touch up any areas of stains. Now I'm going to airbrush some khaki brown onto the very bottom third of the cape. What this is going to do is leave a really nice dusty effect, as if the dust has started to hit the bottom of the cape as it's been flowing in the wind. going to sponge some XV88 on the very bottom of the cape. This is going to add another layer of texture to dirt onto the cape that's going to make it look even more realistic. A shabty bone is painted onto all of the skeleton areas of the dead rider. Sepia is washed all over the bone of the dead rider. After letting the Seraphim Sepia thoroughly dried, I then come back in with some Games Workshop's Screaming Skull, and I highlight all of the skeletal area of the miniature. The base was painted with Morgfang Brain, and then it was washed with Games Workshop's Null Nile, then it was dry brushed with Xandri Dust.